Today we're discussing the future of condo launches post-COVID-19. There's been a lot of discussion around innovation and how tech is going to play a role going forward in moving forward through this pandemic. I want to kick things off by introducing myself. So my name is Masood Raza. I am the moderator for today's panel. I am the partnerships manager at Skyline. We're Toronto's tech and real estate conference. You can look us up at skylineconference.co if you want to learn more about our events, excuse me. So I'd like to invite our panelists and introduce them each. First of all, we have Tim Ng. Tim is the principal and founder of ADHOC Studio, a team of artists, architects, UI/UX designers, software engineers, and game developers. They work closely with developers across Canada to launch successful urban developments. In the past 3 years, ADHOC's team has developed a product called Blackline, which streamlines the whole pre-construction process to help developers sell real estate online. They understand that real estate deals are no longer confined to a sales office and have made the transition to help developers and agents sell anywhere worldwide. Next up, we have Amanda Milborne. Amanda is the VP of Sales and Marketing at Capital Development, with over 6 million square feet under active development. She is the former COO of Milborne Group and an expert in her field. Devoted to project management, she has personally supervised the sale of over $4 billion in real estate. She's a multiple award winner for her project marketing work, including Best Sales Team at the Build Awards, the National Project of the Year, and International Property Awards. She holds a Master of Science in Real Estate Development from Columbia University and dedicates herself to saving time and money throughout the entire development and sales process. Next, we have Dhanji, president of RAD Marketing, one of the top sales and marketing firms for pre-construction developments in the GTA and across Canada. They have sold over $3 billion in pre-construction condo developments in Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, and abroad, totaling more than 10,000 condominium suites. A few notable Toronto-based RAD marketing projects include Aura, Canada's tallest condo at 80 stories, King Toronto, the iconic project by Westbank and Allied in collaboration with Starchitect Bjarke Ingels, the Shangri-La Hotel and Residences in Toronto, and the rebranded St. Regis Hotel and Residences. Lastly, but not leastly, we have Andrew Fleur of True Condos Max, Condos Brokerage, plus Brokerage, excuse me. Andrew founded TrueCondos.com in 2006 with the goal of becoming the ultimate resource for condo investors in Ontario. Since then, Andrew and his team have helped thousands of Canadians create hundreds of millions of dollars of wealth by investing in condos. In 2014, Andrew started the True Condos podcast, which now has over 250 episodes and 325,000 downloads. I had a podcast, and those are impressive numbers for sure. Andrew started out his career selling condos in downtown Toronto, but in recent years has branched out to other markets, including Hamilton, Kitchener, Ottawa, and Calgary. Andrew was ranked number 6 out of 21,000 RE/MAX agents in Canada last year in 2019. All right, thank you so much for everyone who's joined. I'd like to kick things off with a question for the whole panel. If you could, and whoever would like to speak first, feel free to hop in. If you could describe the current the current state of the real estate market, please. Anyone, feel free to jump in. Thanks, Amanda.
I'll jump in, Masood. Thanks so much. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm thrilled to be featured on this panel with such a great group of industry people. So thanks so much for everybody else who's joined us as well. It's been a really interesting start to the year. I don't think anybody would have thought at the beginning of March that this is the place we would be at on June 4th. It's been interesting from a resale perspective. Volume is down, although prices are slightly up. With trades focused really outside the core. We're seeing inventory still selling across all of our projects, whether it be in North York, Yorkville, Yonge and Eglinton, across the city. Again, with some investors buying, but mostly end users at this point. Construction is still progressing across most projects in the city. And I think what most people are really excited for is what I'd call the summer launch season right now is, we're going into a time where we have 4 to 5 new projects starting to gear up for launch, really in a virtual environment. And that's going to be so interesting to watch and see what happens.
Yeah, I'd like to echo what Amanda's saying. I think we are seeing, I mean, obviously resales have dropped off almost 58% from last year, but we are seeing activity on all our sites, given this new virtual world. So a lot of our sales offices are open now. We're seeing less traffic, but more people who are well qualified that are interested in buying. We're seeing a little bit of a shift now to a lot more end users that are looking at buying versus just the investor buyer. And it will be interesting to see what happens come this summer, this fall, as companies launch and developers launch, and what methods they're going to be using in this new post-COVID world to get traction for their projects. So I think that's something that everyone in the industry is watching very closely.
Interesting.
Yeah, from my perspective, as an agent on the ground, the year started off, very, very hot, and I think everybody was expecting it to be a record year. And so it's very strange to be speaking now in the middle of the year, and with respect to the pre-construction markets, the market is down dramatically from what it was at the beginning part of the year. I'd echo the other panelists, what they're saying, basically that the end user activity is still there in the pre-con world, but the investors have sort of dropped off, and for the most part, and there's really a wait and see kind of approach with most investors, I would say. Just a lot of uncertainty, obviously, and a lot of people interested in buying. When we look at things like traffic to our websites and our marketing, there's traction there, there's activity there, there's definitely eyeballs looking at our marketing and raising their hand saying they're interested. But when it comes to actually pulling the trigger and purchasing condos, the process is very different than it was, a few months ago.
Interesting. Now with the uncertainty, where do you think things are going to go in the coming months?
So Amanda, you want to go, or?
No, go ahead, Riz.
Yeah, so I just think that what we're going to see now post-COVID is sales and marketing becoming even more important than we've ever seen before. I really don't think, and Andrew, you can tell me, but I don't think you're going to see 500 agents coming into a room to listen to a presentation on real estate. I just can't see you or your clients doing that. I can't see clients coming and filling a real estate sales office, to buy real estate right now. So, traditionally, the traditional way of selling real estate, which is creating that excitement, has got to change. And so we're going to see this transition to more of a virtual way of selling. And the good thing at RAD is we've been actually thinking about this about 6 to 8 months ago. So we're working on some proprietary technologies that work with real estate agents and with clients that are more virtual, a step up from what everyone else has been doing. And assist our clients in understanding what kind of product that's actually selling in the marketplace. And we're using other new technologies to create some of that touch and feel of real estate that you can't really do in a sales office, but can you do it in a virtual world? And we believe that we've got something that's going to be very unique and outside the box. But I think if you're thinking of doing the same thing that you did 6 months ago in the next 6 months to a year, I don't think that's going to work, especially with large buildings that we're going to see coming to the market.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to watch the early launches that take an all or mostly virtual approach. I think everyone's going to be paying attention to what their price and absorption looks like. With some, I think developer expectations have changed a little bit regarding absorption in a virtual environment, and that are prepared to sort of stretch out that process a little bit. Luckily, a lot of our launches were actually using a lot of these digital technologies already with the DocuSign, and 40% of our deals were already going out for signing. So taking advantage of some of these virtual tools. But I think that more than ever, they're going to be very important in terms of reliability and navigation, and the back-end analytics in terms of what it brings you in terms of real-time reporting about who you see coming through your sales environments virtually, because you're not going to have the same level of feedback that you would when you have people coming into a presentation center. I think we're also going to see new trends that include live streaming of events with virtual attendance, an enhanced way, like you said, Riz, to create that excitement online and really boost direct engagement with both clients and with brokers at this point, because we're all very new to what this new environment looks like and how best to take advantage of it.
Oh, great insights. You know, I think that adapting is going to be key for the industry. You know, agents and owners who are able to leverage technology and embrace the new innovations will have an opportunity to make it out of this. Now, Tim, I'd like to address a question to you. The word prop tech has become a buzzword recently, really in the past few years. What exactly does it mean?
Great question. Yeah, on the surface level of the face of it, prop tech is really real estate going digital. If we go a little deeper, I think prop tech really addresses fundamental questions of how we experience real estate. I think prop tech is the realization that consumer experience needs to be at the very heart of real estate. What that means is consumers really want to be able to control the real estate experience. So how they access their building, how they park their car, control the air conditioning, access their community information. This is the same trend I'm really seeing with how consumers purchase real estate even. Prop tech is really shifting the balance of power to the end user now.
Interesting. You know, I myself, I've almost been, my role as a father at home has been disrupted because my son, he'd be like, "Hey dad," and he'd be about to ask me a question and he'd be like, "Never mind. Hey Google," and he'd get his answer, a much more thorough answer and a better answer. So, you know, we definitely like smart home capabilities for our family that's table stakes. You know, another thing that I've noticed is, you know, gyms are closed. Good Life is shut down. A lot of smaller gyms are shuttering their doors, and there could be an opportunity for builders to have, you know, built-in gyms or yoga studios or Peloton bikes and things like that. So I think I totally agree, Tim, is that at the end of the day, how this technology is going to serve the end user is going to be very important. Now, if we could, and I'll address this to the whole panel, describe the future of real estate technology beyond smart homes. What's it going to look like 5 or 10 years from now?
Yeah, I could jump in first, and then I think really this whole situation has really fast-tracked the digital transformation for companies and the whole industry and tons of other industries as well. I think the saying of location, location, location is actually changing to location experience analytics. I think a lot of the sales teams and developers who provide their purchasers and brokers with the best digital user experience will really be the ones that really separate themselves from the competition. So leveraging data from digital platforms will become even more critical now, similar to what Amanda touched on earlier too. So every decision that a developer makes or the sales team makes, it's going to be informed decisions around data. So in terms of how developers purchase land, what neighborhoods they're investing in, architecture, suite mixes, branding, how you're going to eventually launch a project, all of that now will be driven by data. And I would say that really the marketplace is shifting from brick and mortar to digital and data. And that at ADHOC, in terms of what we're doing with our Blackline platform, which a lot of the attendees here are very familiar with, we're rapidly building out a full ecosystem to really streamline the entire pre-construction sales process. So what that means is pretty much like anything that you can think of involving sales and marketing, Blackline is looking to cover that. So to make processes more efficient, and also with a better user experience. So I would say that, yeah, digital platforms are really the future. So improving sales workflows, automating processes, even websites like automatically developed through AI. Entire real estate campaigns will soon live, or pretty much soon live under one digital platform. And I really think that kind of sums up the future of where I see real estate tech.
Before we go over to anyone else, you mentioned AI, and for non-technical folks like myself, when I hear AI, I picture the Will Smith movie. I picture massive disruption. I'm going to lose my job. Is AI a bad thing for the sales force out there? Should they be worried about it? What's your take on that? Tim? Hello? Or anyone can hop in there.
I'll hop in, Masood, but I wanted to just jump back before we jump into EI. I was gonna sort of continue on what Tim said, and I agree with everything that he says, and I think that really what we're very fortunate in Toronto is that we are, we're the NFL of condo marketing on a world stage. We have so much volume, we have so much demand, and to see what prop tech brings us, I think what it's going to take us from thinking about marketing locally, and all of a sudden we're going to be marketing globally, because we're able to reach people on a global scale in a 24-hour sales environment. And that's really going to change the way that we communicate through the sales and the pre-construction process, especially in the launch stage.
Yeah, I'd like to build on what Amanda says. I think that's fully exactly what I think. I think these new technologies will allow us to reach buyers from all over the world. And it would allow us to, I think the new sales approach will have a combination of the brick and mortar and the virtual experience, and how to combine both of them together to have that similar touch and feel experience of real estate is going to be really important. And I think the sales strategies and the marketing strategies are going to have to shift accordingly. And we can't expect that people are just going to walk in and buy real estate like in a second, like we've seen in many years with our great market. It's really going to be how the sales team interacts with them, how they are into prop tech, how are they being learned and transforming themselves, which has been traditionally something as a pushback from sales teams. How's your marketing teams approaching that? I think all that in collaboration with the virtual experience, we're going to see this new era of sales and marketing that's going to be that next evolution that we're going to see in real estate. And I really think that Toronto will be the main hub of what other people from around the world will use to sell and market their projects. So it's an exciting time that we're in, and I think it's only going to get better.
Right. Andrew, did you want to chime in on that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously not a tech expert or an AI expert or anything like that, but I think
I'll argue you had a website in 2006, so you're an early adopter of tech.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think consumers are comfortable with technology, and they're comfortable with prop tech. They're comfortable with buying things virtually. Especially with respect to pre-construction condos, which is primarily what we're talking about here today. So, I think there's definitely a comfort level to it, to the technology and to the experience of doing things virtually. That's not an issue. I think the more innovation, the better. I think, yeah, we've seen a lot of innovation in the last 10, 15 years, but, I think, like Tim said, the COVID situation has really accelerated everything. I think we're going to probably see more in the next, 12 months. If I had to guess, we're going to see more innovation in the next 12 months probably than we have in the last 10 years, because it's just, necessity being the mother of invention. It's, I'm sure, Tim, your gears are turning like crazy right now, and coming up with, and Riz and Amanda too, just coming up with new ways, from the vendor side of things to reach the consumer and reach the customer and give them an experience that's as good or better than, what they've been used to for the past forever
Mm.
until now.
I think
Yeah.
that's a really good point, Andrew, because we actually are poised at a unique opportunity here to pivot and take sort of the best parts of our previous launch environment and launch strategy and ways that were the most successful, and bring to it the best of PropTech and the best of what the new virtual experience can provide. And in some ways, we've trialed a lot of, you know, the out for signing already, but I think that we're gonna, you know, advance by leaps and bounds through the next few months of learning through these early virtual launches.
Yeah, and as you said, Amanda, like we're into now, after a few months of just the industry just kind of like frozen in time almost, we're now, I think, entering the next stage of this COVID thing as an industry, where we're starting to see a bunch of launches. Even a few launches right now as we speak this week are happening. So as we go through the summer, I think we're going to see a lot of trial and error, and some of the stuff is going to work really well and be really appreciated by the customer and provide a great experience. Some of it's not going to work, and it's going to be an interesting next few months as you know, we see some experimentation from developers, from marketing companies, from tech companies, to see, you know, what's effective and what direction things are going to go.
Now, do you see that innovation being spurred from within real estate corporations, or you mentioned tech companies? So will they more be working with startups outside of the industry, or do you think the innovation will be spurred internally, or both?
I'm actually seeing a lot of like sales teams and developers actually like co-create with prop tech or startup or tech companies. So they're collectively in parallel working together on things. Like we're working with a bunch of sales teams and developers co-creating solutions for them as well, based on the last couple months with COVID. Yeah.
And I think a lot of that is driven by the control and the ownership of the information, because from a developer standpoint, you know, you want the most control and the most ownership over your information and the analytics on the back end, so you understand who's viewing your product, and you want to work as closely as possible with your sales team and your outside brokers to make sure that you're getting that best real-time information coming back to you as well.
For sure.
Tim, you had mentioned AI earlier. I think, sorry, there was a little mix-up in you fell off, but I'd ask a question about AI and the Salesforce. Non-technical folks may get concerned when they hear about artificial intelligence or machine learning. You know, they're worried about, you know, these algorithms replacing human beings. Is AI a good thing for salespeople? Will it replace them? Will it enable them? Can they work with it? How is this going to play out?
I think if anything, it makes our lives easier and more efficient. So if anything, it's a tool that even for brokers or agents, it could be, it can make their lives and their jobs a lot easier. You can even, like, from the basic side of things, or the ground up, even chatbots, just at that service level customer experience, even chatbots are really helping out agents or even just customer service teams. So I think it's really a tool that will help everyone.
Can you give me some specific examples? You know, chatbots are relatively simple. Are there any other, like, will I deal with a robot? Like, let's say I want to go, right? Like I mentioned gyms earlier, for example. You know, it doesn't really make sense to have a membership salesperson when I could go use a kiosk or Tim Hortons or whatever. So, you know, I guess my question is, will we have a situation where there will be no room for mediocrity, meaning only the top performing sales agents will survive going forward?
I think there's always going to be a role for sales in real estate. I just think that it's such a personalized, it's such a large purchase. It's not like a gym membership where you're paying, you know, $60 to $100 a month. It's such a massive purchase that the connection that you have with a real estate agent whether it's on-site or a real estate broker that's off-site, is going to be integral. We've seen that there are some AI companies or various companies that have tried to do discount models in real estate to see how that works. It just doesn't. It's got its place, but it's not going to replace the real estate agent in what we do. It's just too much of a one-on-one personal contact there. It will, like Tim says, it will improve the amount of data that you get from the clients and being able to tailor that real estate to what you are offering, which I think is what AI is going to do really well. And it's going to be able to help us improve our efficiency, but I don't think it's going to take away from the sales experience from the sales reps that you have working on site, or the real estate agent that you have working.
Yeah, I would echo that, Riz. I think that, in my experience, people buy when they feel heard and safe and comfortable. Good agents really work to understand their clients' needs and motivations, and are their advocates through the pre-construction process, which is much more complicated than resale. Multiple steps, multiple touch points over mostly multiple years. So I think that AI would have to progress very far in order for a purchaser to feel like that was a substitute. But I think that it can definitely enhance, especially the customer experience at the early part of the process, when they're especially in the information gathering part of the process.
Great.
Yeah, I mean, just from the agent's perspective, I mean, I think the ultimate question that the customer is asking with real estate transaction is, who can I trust? And there certainly, you can build trust. I think it's theoretically possible to fully trust, a bot or an algorithm or a computer or something with, with a transaction. I think there will be a small segment of the market that will be fully okay with that, and we'll see. A lot of tech companies are trying to crack that nut, I think, right now, in terms of fully online, fully touch-free person, human-free real estate transaction. Like, people are trying to figure that out, and I think there's a place for that. But I think that ultimately will be a very small portion of the overall market. I think the market will always, I think, be dominated by person-to-person, human-to-human, belly-to-belly transactions, because it's ultimately it's a question of trust, and trust is built over long periods of time between people. It's possible to build trust with a machine, like you said, Masood, like, hey dad, what's the answer to this question? It's like, well, I have the answer in my head, I think, but you know what, I actually trust Google more to give us the answer for this thing. But so there's that, and we're moving more towards that, I think, as a society. But purchasing a $500,000 or $1 million piece of property is a very different thing than what's a good taco recipe, or where's a good place to eat tonight? Google, can you recommend something for me? It's a very different thing. And I think it's always going to be built on trust, human to human kind of connections. But I think technology, I think AI, things like that are, if anything, one of the questions we're asking is will the agent, will the salesperson be replaced at some point in the future? I think the answer is no. But I think, if anything, technology has lowered the barrier of entry, I think, for people to get into real estate in sales. I think it's just much easier for people to become a broker, to become a salesperson. And we when I started in real estate, there's 27,000 agents in the Toronto Real Estate Board. Now there's 56 or more, 60,000, something like that. So it becomes, as technology improves, it becomes much easier to enter in the industry and to sort of know what you're talking about, because we have so much information at our fingertips now. Whereas, 20, 30 years ago, how you became an expert at selling real estate was you just had to be selling real estate for many, many years and build up that knowledge base. And be in the streets literally, and then, get your hands dirty, so to speak. But now you can get a lot of information, and you can become somewhat of a relative expert in a very short period of time, because it's all right there at our fingertips. And it's the consumer as well. The consumer is becoming much more of an expert.
Not to put you on the spot or anything, I don't expect you to share any of your trade secrets, but how can a new agent, what are some tools or tips that you can give them to leverage and get that advantage?
Tips for a new agent. Well, again, I think it goes back to that question of, in order to get customers, you have to understand what customers are looking for. And if you start with the idea that customers are looking for someone they trust, well, you think, how is someone trusted? Someone is trusted by being an expert at something, and usually from doing that thing for a very long time. If you want anything if you want to purchase anything or any consumer transaction, you're thinking, who is that expert person that I can ask that I know will give me the result that I'm looking for? So my advice is pretty simple. It's basically become that expert, become really good and knowledgeable and worthy of trust for the thing you're trying to do, and the business will follow in a very small nutshell.
No, that's great. I agree that, with technology, it's great. I think AI will definitely enable salespeople in every industry, especially real estate. But there is that emotional intelligence that can't be replaced, that human touch. My real estate agent, who I've been with for over 10 years, he, in the middle of the pandemic, came by, was 6 feet away, came by with his wife, dropped off a box of brownies, had gloves on. I almost shook his hand, and he's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. But it was like, he could have sent me something by Amazon, but the fact that he took time, he took all the precautionary measures, it was safe, it meant a lot. It meant way more than, some automated approach. I may have had negative ROI if I got some automated message or something like that, or a gift. But that personal touch, it really does mean a lot. And one thing everyone mentioned is that this is probably the biggest ticket item you're ever going to make in your life, purchase you're going to make in your life. So, if you have a human holding your hand and understanding you and having that empathy, it's going to go a long way. Now, Riz, how have clients been adjusting to buying real estate? You touched on it a bit earlier, but during the pandemic, has there been big concerns? Share your thoughts on or your experience of how clients have been adjusting.
Yeah, I think what we're seeing is there's a movement from more of the investor community to the end user community. What we're seeing in the resale market right now is that inventory is very low, and really, condos are moving at very similar prices to what we've seen pre-COVID. There has been some areas where you've seen a discount on the resale side, but prices haven't really dropped off that much, primarily because supply has been so low. And so what we're finding is in our sales offices, we're seeing a gravitation to a little bit more larger units because of this whole work from home concept. So, a person may now be looking at a 3-bedroom unit versus a 2-bedroom unit and saying that extra bedroom I can now make into my home office. And their thinking is that my mortgage payments are going to be a little bit more, but what am I saving on my commute cost? What am I saving on every single day having to buy lunch there, having to do, park, and all those kind of costs coming into the city or wherever it is. Those savings I can put towards another mortgage and increase my mortgage a bit and be able to get a larger unit and use that. Maybe I'm only in the office 3 days a week and I'm working from home 2 days a week. And it's really an improvement way of life. So we're seeing that gravitational pull for a number of clients doing that. We're also seeing that now that bond yields have been falling considerably since since COVID, where I believe the 5-year bond yield is almost at 0.46%, which is the lowest it's been since the depths of 2016. Now, mortgage rates haven't fallen in tandem as quickly, only because banks are still keeping in a buffer because of the risk profile. But, people that I've been talking in the banking sector, they're feeling that, mortgage rates are slowly starting to come down. And by, January or close to December, we could see the 5-year rate, hovering around 2% or maybe even drop around that, lower than that 2% level. So we're going to see a spur of activity from that. So people who are under construction and are delivering a little bit quicker, I think that there is demand for that. We're just going to see now with the new launches what a project that's coming out in 3-4 years, how that absorption is going to take place, and that'll be interesting to see in the next few months.
Interesting. Amanda, from the development side of things, are there big changes happening with having like permanent work from home adoption in mind? Or are you seeing that consumers want these home offices built out in their homes, like from scratch?
We are definitely looking at our products and how we're going to evolve. I myself live in a condo with my family, and I'm thinking about how to make sure that it's sustainable long term. So, looking at making sure flexible spaces exist, and that some of those flexible spaces are enclosable and not, we've been a big fan of open concept floor plans for a really long time. And I think, we're going to start to see the return of some walls in some places. Just like we're rethinking our launch strategy, I think we're going to be rethinking our product types and how we start to live. We're just going to see a continued premium for outdoor space and light and air, similar, density in the city. As Tim said, location is important, but I think it's also location, services, and proximity, what you're getting, and living in a mixed use community and having your essential services at your doorstep, is a very important part of how you live, and thinking through, what that next purchase might look like, be it for end use or for investment, because of how other people are living as well.
Interesting. Andrew, any thoughts on that?
In terms of like
demand
designs?
Like, are you having folks ask, like, are you seeing the same thing where they want space for the home office?
Well, I think that trend, I think that trend was happening before COVID. I think COVID just accelerates that. I think the work from home trend, is going to continue. It was happening before, and it's going to continue. Investors, which are the primary buyers of pre-construction, they're not really thinking too much about those kinds of things. Those are secondary, third things on their mind. But yeah, I think the end users are certainly thinking about that kind of stuff. I mean, it's so hard to know, right? Like, what's going to happen with this COVID thing, and is it a 6-month thing? Is it a 12-month? Is it a 2-year? Is it change the world for all time? We don't know. It's only been 3 months so far, so
right.
We'll see how this thing plays out in the long run, of course. But I think just anything that makes your life easier to be able to work from home, whether it's common spaces in the building or some kind of an office space in your condo, I think that's certainly going to continue.
Just a side question, I'll direct to Tim. As a startup founder, you're probably aware that there's this unwritten rule that for startups, for small companies that are growing, co-founders should all be under one roof. They should be co-located. Remote work doesn't work, and they have all these studies saying that if your co-founders are spread out, then it could fail. There's this concept of having open offices, as Amanda had mentioned, for to make serendipitous connections. All that goes out the window when we're doing remote work. So Tim, are you aware of any technologies that allow these serendipitous connections to still occur and bridge the gap between remote work, specifically with founders?
Like if this happened, like let's say 15 years ago, I'm pretty sure we'd be all screwed. But like with, you know, with tools like we have actually virtual meeting rooms set up, so we don't need to like schedule calls like at ADHOC. Anyone can just jump into a meeting room and start sharing their screen, writing things on a whiteboard. So we have to eliminate, like we're eliminating internally in terms of, oh, can I call you, or can we jump on a call at 3 o'clock? It's, those rooms are already set up. So there's a lot of tools out there like Slack and a bunch of other softwares that kind of keep that still intact, which is like on my end, I actually manage like 3 separate teams within ADHOC and Blackline, and very fortunate to have these tools in place, so we don't really miss a beat.
Nice. On the note of Blackline, is there anything that you can share with us that's in your roadmap? Any new exciting tech or anything that you got in the pipeline that agents should know about?
We kind of under wraps right now. I could kind of give you like high level.
Share what you can.
We are going to be rolling out like a really interesting agent tool that'll actually make like Andrew, like your life a lot easier when in terms of managing your projects. That's all I can really say at this point. We're rapidly building, finishing it off, but we're very excited about something that we're working on specifically for brokers and agents.
Awesome! Can't wait to hear more. No, that's okay. I usually dig and see what I can get, but that's fine. We'll check in with you again for that. Just a quick note to all of our attendees. We're going to be doing some Q&A towards the last 10 minutes or so. So if you can go into the Q&A section on the bottom bar there, and you can submit your questions. So feel free to submit questions for any of our panelists, and we'll get to those in a few minutes. Now, Amanda, I'd like to know if you see any other technologies. We mentioned AR, VR a bit, AI technology. Do you see is there anything else exciting that's happening from your angle?
For sure, you know, there's a number of interesting things that we're seeing sort of integrate with technology. One is from a systems and operations side, and from property management, to really help understand, you know, when these buildings are smart wired, or if you have a smart wired building, understanding, you know, your use in real time, and then being able to adjust and actually save costs. We see a huge appetite for that, especially in the multifamily world, in rental. You know, we're also seeing sort of the rise of, and I think we're going to see this more, is the rise of virtual community and creating community in existing buildings. So whether it's through your amenity booking or, you know, promoting a social function, maybe not right now in person, but, you know, creating community in buildings in, you know, that are horizontal communities. So as opposed to just sort of your block party, how do you have that in a condo? And one thing we're seeing, or we're going to see the rise of a lot more, is actually community engagement online. You know, integrative to our process at the beginning of the development is, you know, a lot of community engagement with area stakeholders when you put in a development application, and that process has really been happening only in person for the life cycle, because it's mainly a municipal driven process. But we're really seeing that process start to move online as everyone has to embrace these new technologies. So I think that there's a lot of excitement there in terms of getting new input and new ideas at the beginning of a project from a different round of stakeholders through the digital world as well.
Interesting. Now this is to anyone on the panel. With regards to agents embracing technology, where can they stay up to date on tech, and specific to real estate tech or prop tech? Like, what do you read? How do you stay up to date on things?
I just said call Andrew.
10 webinars like this.
Call Tim.
Yeah, so I mean, you know, what we're finding is that real estate is traditionally a laggard when it comes to technology. Do you think, because of the severity of the situation, companies are going to start pushing things forward at a quicker rate in general?
Yeah, I
For
think,
sure.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
100%.
sorry, go ahead. Amanda, you
No,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. I was going to say, yeah, definitely, you know, we're in the past, technology has been sort of a layer to the sales process. And it was really dependent on either cost or time to add that layer, depending on, you know, the bricks, comparing that cost to bricks and mortar. I think what we're going to see is really sort of the marriage of the two moving forward to produce the best experience for customers.
Yeah, and I think on the sales and marketing firm side, like for instance for RAD, we're really, you know, innovating in new technologies from a new portal that we'll be rolling out probably in the next few months for our clients and the real estate agent community and their clients. That's going to be really unique for developers themselves. We're working on new sales processes that are more virtual. We've got a concept that we're going to be rolling out probably in July on that basis, and it's going to be, you know, probably very cutting edge in my opinion. So I think unless you're ahead of the curve on what the next 6 to 8 months, we don't know how long COVID will be around us. You know, selling what you were doing pre-COVID is not going to be the way it's going to be for the future. And I think that has to trickle down to your sales teams, to your marketing teams, to your administration, to everything else. And that's where I think you know, you're going to see companies move forward with their sales and marketing programs for a long time going forward.
Interesting. Andrew, Tim? Yeah.
I'm definitely on my end. I'm seeing a shift with a lot of our developer and sales team clients. Is first thing they did was beef up their website, right? That's like automatic thing. Spending more time refining the messaging, the content, bringing everything online, and then also a lot of the budgets that the developers were budgeting towards the sales office or the presentation center, they're shifting that a big portion of it to the online experience, whether through our platform Blackline or some type of portal to allow purchasers or potential investors and brokers to really educate themselves before they even get in touch with someone at the sales office. So potential purchasers and investors are a lot more educated walking into the process.
Yeah, I think from my side as a broker, dealing with a lot of different developers, definitely seeing huge progress made. You know, builders who we've been trying to get them to adopt digital signings, just, you know, basic digital signings for the past, you know, many years to make our lives easier for our clients who are out of town, or, you know, just clients who are comfortable with the process and who just want to sign things quickly digitally, as opposed to forcing people to come in person and everything. We're seeing those developers who haven't really moved the bar at all in years, suddenly now in 3 months, boom, they've figured out digital signing and they're now doing it, and it's ready to roll. So I think you're going to see more of that, more of the talk will turn into action, like in the industry, and stuff that people have been saying, yeah, we should do that, we should get on that, you know, but everything's working so great as it is, so why would we? But now it's like, okay, this is the time to actually, you know, implement a lot of the stuff that we've been talking about doing for years, and we're seeing it already, so it's great.
Yeah, no, it's you know, a lot of things that were kind of archaic systems seem to, out of necessity, you know, are being reapproached and moved forward because there's no better time to implement this change now. So great conversation so far. We've got 10 minutes left. I'd like to pull some questions from the Q&A section. So we have one here. For developments already in sales phase and for future developments under design, are developers looking at amenities differently? I think we touched on this already. So social distance in gyms or children's play area. Are developers revising current amenities plans to adapt?
I'll jump in there. You know, I can speak anecdotally. In my condo right now, all the amenities are closed due to COVID-19. So I think that even when they do exist, depending on your management, it doesn't always mean that you have access to them. But I think that we are going to be looking at the mix of amenities in a whole in a building to make sure that there are opportunities to create spaces for, you know, quiet rooms, for more directed study with, again, social distancing requirements at play. I think these are things that are automatically going to be a lens that we look at through the design, especially if you're living and breathing it every day in terms of your environment. So I think that automatically design is going to evolve, and it's something that we're actively looking at, especially as our projects are in the construction phase. And if we have some chances to make some of those design changes with our interior designers and architects.
I also think that on from what Amanda speaks about, we're also seeing, like, in new projects that we're working on, is you know, outdoor space is becoming a premium. And so how are you using outdoor space, you know, to properly social distance, but allowing that so that people get that space to be able to be outside of the condos? A lot of these projects now don't have a lot of outdoor space on their condo units. So, you know, fulfilling that outdoor space requirement is going to be even more important. And, you know, everything from, you know, air quality to, you know, smart systems in the homes. Those are things that are becoming a lot more prevalent in the projects that we're definitely working on.
Interesting. So we'll grab another question here from the attendees. Transit-oriented developments are becoming more popular as the densification of urban environments continue. Do you feel that GTA peripheries, i.e. Durham and Halton, will see more densification as well? Are real estate demand in those areas headed towards more flexible spaces in condos as well? So I guess the question is, are suburban areas going to become more dense, and is demand flowing towards the suburbs?
I think so. I think anecdotally what we've seen in March and April in the resale market has been supportive of that. You know, trades are down, but most of the interest has been concentrated outside of the core, with prices actually up a little bit. So I think that that's automatically where people are living or looking in terms of their interest. And I think we are seeing densification in those submarkets, as well as in sort of underdeveloped transit nodes or transit, you know, long metro links around the crosstown, things that are really sort of the next, the North Yonge extension. These are all places where, you know, investors especially love the transit-oriented developments. So anything that's located on transit is automatically going to have that lens put on it as well.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think the bigger question, like that sort of hitting on, which a lot of people are asking, you know, is like, is downtown, is this like the end of downtown? Are people now, is everyone just going to move far away from the city, or, you know, rural areas, or far out suburban areas because it's much cheaper, and just kind of work from home and do that whole thing, and downtown will suffer because of it? You know, nobody knows. As I said, like, how long is this COVID thing going to last? How serious is it going to be in the big picture? Nobody knows yet. But, you know, again, my opinion, if I'm betting on it, I would say, you know, the trends that have led to the sort of the rise of many cities, not just Toronto, but many cities around the world, and the urbanization, the revitalization of downtowns, you know, just the desire to live, work, and play all within like a very short distance around where, you know, your home or condo. I don't think those trends are going to change from COVID. I mean, I think COVID, in my opinion, is going to be a temporary hiccup for those bigger trends. And I think ultimately downtown Toronto and other big cities are going to be fine. They're still going to always be the place where most people will gravitate towards, most people will want to be. And I think, frankly, most people don't want to work from home all the time. You know, some people love working from home and they prefer to work from home. But I think most people, most of the time, will always prefer being in that office environment, being with other people. And as we touched on, the just having those serendipitous moments, and you can't replace. You can try to replicate some of those things, but you can't. It's not the same. It's never going to be the same virtually. So I think the suburbs have been doing very well because they're much cheaper, and Toronto's become a very expensive city, and I think they will continue to do well for that reason. But I don't think it's the end of downtown, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
It's a great point. Innovation is most commonly exercised or implemented when you have like-minded people all together in one place. So it's kind of paradoxical where, we need innovation to get out of this situation, but if everyone's fleeing the cities, we're spreading these minds out in all of these remote areas. It's hard to come together. So hopefully we can figure out ways to stay together and have these incubation centers essentially. We'll grab a couple more questions. We've got a few more minutes here for the conversation. Are developers doing anything to try and make occupancy dates more predictable? That's one of the few things that keep smaller unit end users from buying.
That's a great question. I think that I can speak to us at Capital Developments in that we try and stick by our occupancy dates, and when we set it in stone, we spend a lot of time actually not wanting to deviate from that date. I think doing your research as to the developer that you choose to buy with and their track record of delivery is very important, because as we move into the next purchasing environment, team and track record and the ability to deliver on time is going to be more and more important. And having a track record of that delivery is also very important. I think most developers do their absolute best to manage through the construction process and avoid unforeseeable delays. But again, it's just about having the right experience to know the steps in the process to avoid those delays. So buying from a reputable team will give you and your purchasers the best level of confidence to make sure that that occupancy date is as close to the real date as it should be as possible.
And I agree with that, with Amanda. I think what we're seeing during COVID, we've seen some projects go under. We're seeing a lot more. I mean, I've seen a lot of receivers that have been selling sites over the past few months. I think it's really important for agents and buyers to put their clients into reputable builders like Capital and other clients like West Bank and other clients that we're working with as well. Because you just never know. They have that track record of success. They have that ability to know how to execute and deliver fairly much on time of what they've done. And there's always that missed expectation, right? Clients buy because they think the pricing is great or the deposit structure is great or whatever, but then at the end they don't end up getting their actual project or their unit, and the value of the unit has gone up so much. And they've lost out on all their equity that they've built up. So, it's not always the best possible price. It's not always the best deposit structure. It's not always that. It's really, going forward, going to be the developer that's going to be well capitalized and well executed, that's going to be doing well coming out of this, in my opinion.
Interesting. All right. So we've reached the top of the hour. Thank you everyone who took the time to attend and listen in. Thank you to our panelists, Riz, Andrew, Amanda, and Tim. Your insights are very valuable and I'm sure very helpful to all of the attendees and certainly myself. We would love to have our attendees stay in touch with you. If everyone could just share how attendees could be in touch, whether it's Twitter or email or websites. Riz, how can we learn more about Rad Marketing?
You can go to our website at radmarketing.ca. We're also on social at Rad Marketing as well, Instagram, Facebook, and that, and you can ask us questions and whatever from there.
Awesome. Andrew?
Yeah, truecondos.com. I think if you're looking at the screen, you can see my website there. If anybody wants to get a hold of me, you can reach me at 416-371-2333.
Awesome. That's pretty bold, giving out your phone number, but that's probably why you're the top agent. Amanda, you don't have to share your phone number, but
no worries. You can check us out on our website, capitaldevelopments.com. We're also on social media and Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And you can reach me on my email at amanda@capitaldevelopments.com.
Great. Tim, how can we learn more about Blackline and ADHOC?
Yeah, at the top of that slide, reach us at blacklineapp.com. There's actually a chat bot that directly connects to me that I get in real time. So just message me at any time. That's through AI, obviously. And LinkedIn as well. We're on all the social networks, Instagram, Facebook.
Awesome. Well, thank you all again for sharing your insights. It was a great conversation. And to all of our attendees, thank you for attending. Hopefully we see you again soon. Take care.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Masood. Bye, guys.
Thanks.
Bye.